Welcome back everyone. In the previous lecture, we learned how to mimic component did mount with useEffect. So, in this lecture, we are going to learn how to use component will unmount functionality that is available using the effect hook. Basically, what we are going to do in this lecture is to create a container component for the log mouse example that we implemented in the previous lecture. And right within the container, we are going to add the button that will be used to toggle the component display. So quickly create a new file called mouse container. So right within the effect practice, create a new file called mousecontainer.js. Generate the functional component. Let's quickly import the useState hook. And also, we have to import the effect example 3. So the next in line is to declare the necessary state variable for the display. So here I'm going to invoke the useState hook. And then we are going to have display. Come here. These have to be in comma case. And the initial state is going to be true. Having done this, right within the GSS, we are going to add a button to toggle the display variable between true or false. Toggle display. Specify the on click. So we are going to invoke the setter function for the set display. And now we're going to have here not display. Alright, so when this button is clicked, we are going to switch from true to false. Okay, each time the button is clicked. And if the display variable is true, we want to render the effect example 3 component. Let's quickly do it right here. So we are going to have if display is true and n, we are going to render effect example 3. Close it up with the soft closing tag. So the initial state of the display is set to true. And for that reason, the effect example 3 component will be rendered on the screen. And when this button is clicked, the display will be set to false. The effect example 3 component will be unmounted from the DOM. It's as simple as that. Let's quickly render the mouse container in the app.js. Alright. Highlights. Place a comment on these. Come here. So we are going to import mouse container from component / use practice / mouse container. And of course, we have to render it over here. Save. Let's check it out on the browser. Alright. Everything is working perfectly fine as expected. Alright, let's inspect the console. And now when I move the mouse around, the X and Y coordinates is updated and the statement is being printed on the console. And now when I click on the toggle display, this component will be unmounted from the DOM. Let's give it a try. Can you see that? Beautiful. Now, the problem here is this. If I try to move the mouse around, the statement will also be printed on the console. Take a look. Do you see? I want you to notice this guy over here. Each time I move the mouse around, the statement will be printed on the console. But look, we have unmounted the component. Even though the component has been removed, the event listener that belongs to the component is still listening and executing. Can you see when I move the mouse around? Do you see that? So the issue is this. Whenever you unmount your component, always make sure to cancel all the subscriptions, the listeners, and the fetch request that you made. Simply because we do not want to expose our application to memory leak What we have to do to solve this problem is to clean up the function. By cleaning up the function, we are going to mimic the component will unmount. And we do that by returning a function right within the first parameter of the useEffect. Let's do that quickly. So open up the effect example 3. Let me show you. Right within this function, we are going to return another function that is called the cleanup function. And I'm going to do window dot remove event listener on mouse move, comma, log mouse position. It's as simple as that. And now we are going to log something on the console to actually indicate that we've cleaned up our function. Console.log. Component is unmounted and the code is clean. Save. Let's check it out on the browser. Let's reload. Alright, let's move the mouse. Can you see? We are getting the X and Y coordinates of the mouse position and we have the statement being printed on the console. Now, when I click on the toggle display, the effect example 3 component will be unmounted. Take a look. Let's move the mouse around to check if everything is cool. Can you see? So it is no longer listening to the event. And now on the console, component is unmounted and the code is clean. Take note of this key point. Whenever you want to unmount your component, always make sure to cancel all the subscriptions, the listeners, and the fetch request you made. This is all for now. See you in the next lecture. Stay focused and always take care.